Hello everyone, Fifon is with you. We all know that in Aladdin only 3 people had a chance to make a wish with the genies. This is Aladdin himself, Jafar, and the small boss of the robbers Abysmal. But what would happen if each of the main characters made a wish? For example, Jasmine or her father. But what if the select from the third part, or Aladdin's father? We will talk about this today. But before starting, I ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. I really wanted to get 1,000 subscribers. Help me with this. If you did what I ask, then we start. Let's start with the one who never liked Aladdin and is unlikely to be, Raziel, one of my most disliked characters in the whole cartoon. He always wanted to catch Aladdin, as he had been chasing him for many years. After Aladdin became a prince, he tried to kill him, even if you do not take into account that Raziel did not know that it was Aladdin. Here you can understand that he either just likes violence, he just loves to kill or beat. Then how he was going to chop off Aladdin's head with great pleasure in the second part once again shows that he is a sadist of pure nature, and with not even hidden hatred for Aladdin. From this we can conclude that if he had at least one desire, or something, and 3, the first thing he would have thought of death to Aladdin, most likely not only to him, even though he is an employee of the king himself. Despite this, the first, if you want to Raziel, it would most likely be like this. The second and third desires, I think it would be something banal, such as money or power. I think he would not mind becoming a sultan at all, although apparently he likes his work. The next person I would consider would be someone who is not a big, interesting, and little developed character. Now I'm talking about Prince Ahmed. This is a man who is just a prince. There is nothing more to say about him. If he had the opportunity to make a wish, he would just make a lot of money and power, that's all. Abu, a little monkey who, like many in Aladdin, is obsessed with gold and wealth. In the cartoon, Abu was shown practically as the personification of the mortal sin of greed. Abu is probably the most greedy creature in Aladdin, but the strangest thing is that it is not clear why he needs gold. He cannot do anything to buy for him. In principle, he will not be able to spend it, because he is a monkey. The point here is simply that he is greedy. It is logical to assume that if he had the opportunity to make a wish, I think he would ask for tons of gold, and tons of all kinds of food. After all, he is a monkey. He does not need anything else. Since we have already begun to talk about greedy animals, we cannot ignore Ardiri Ago, a parrot who in the first part was Jafar's evil assistant and advisor. Everyone knows his character very well. Everyone knows that in greed he is not inferior to Abu. Naturally, he is smarter than a monkey. He can speak corny, so I think that his desires would be some more rational and clear. I think it would be something similar to the desire of Abysmal. He would guess some clear treasures, or he would guess something similar to the hand of Medas, but I don't know about this, since he only learned about such a power as turning everything into gold in the third part. He would hardly have thought of something like that. But in short, money and power, everything is according to the standard. By the way, subscribe to the channel. And what about the royal family? Jasmine, the princess of Agroba, the daughter of the sultan and an enviable bride for any prince. With her, I think that you need to do something special, since she is the kind of character whose priorities in life have changed depending on the time. If you take Jasmine from the first part, before she met Aladdin, and generally before she ran away from the palace, she would think of something like freedom. At first I thought that maybe she would ask a person whom she could love, as she thinks that you should marry for love. But then I realized that it wasn't. Because before meeting Aladdin, she didn't think a bit about love. She never dreamed about it. But she still dreamed about freedom. Under freedom, I think she would have thought not just to escape from the palace and live like an ordinary person. I think she would have asked for complete freedom of choice so that she could choose what she would wear, what to eat, where and how to sleep, and of course for whom get married. But if you take Jasmine after meeting with Aladdin, let's say from the second part, then it's already more difficult. She doesn't have any special desires. She has everything for a happy life. Money, amenities, a person who loves her. Probably the only thing she could think of. This will get rid of the constant problems with all sorts of villains that prevent her and her loved ones from living. There is another character in the royal family. This is the Sultan, a person about whom we know very little. We don't even know his name. The only thing we know is his character. In principle, this is more than enough to represent his desires. Remembering the first part, he mentioned his mother Jasmine. Knowing the character of the Sultan and the fact that he had only one daughter, I think he was one of any. Since this is still a children's cartoon, no one would have thought to make the Sultan a person with great grief. That is, he had only one wife, who for some reason died, but managed to give birth to a daughter to the Sultan. I think that the Sultan would have made 2 wishes, since he has a lot of power and money. His desires would be such things, to make Jasmine happy. This was his only desire throughout all the films. For this he even changed the law. And the second wish would be to resurrect his beloved wife. But then there would be a problem. Since Jinn cannot resurrect, this wish would not be fulfilled. Since I'm talking about fathers, we can remember the father of Aladdin, who is very similar to the Sultan in desires, but Qasim was revealed much better as a character than the Sultan. So here you can think a little. Let's take Qasim, who, after many years of separation from his family, nevertheless returned, but did not find either his wife or son there. In the same place he finds a lamp from which a genie crawls out. What would our king of robbers think? Such a desire to resurrect the family immediately disappears, since this is impossible because of the rules. In the hope of finding a family, he would ask to be transferred to his son or wife, but since his wife is most likely dead, since it is unlikely that she just abandoned Aladdin, the genie would transfer him immediately to Aladdin. What remains? Having reunited with his son, he would have made untold riches, perhaps a personal palace or his own country in general. So Aladdin would indeed become a prince, and in the future, perhaps just like other princes, he would go to Jasmine to ask for her hand. But since he would have lived with his father's upbringing, with money and power, we do not know how the relationship between Jasmine and Aladdin would have developed. Since I remembered Qasim, we must not forget about his comrades. We will not bypass each of the 40 robbers, but the main ones can be quickly examined. Although this does not make much sense, robbers are robbers. I doubt that having spent my whole life in thefts, they still had some desire besides money. So everyone, without exception, including Salak, would simply ask for a huge pile of money. There remains only one character about whom many will not remember. This is a wandering merchant from Agrabah, but we know him as a narrator. It was he, starting from the first to the last part of Aladdin. It was he who told us the whole story. The cartoon began on him and ended. He cannot have any desires, since this is not a full-fledged character, but, so to speak, an off-screen voice that appeared only 2 times in all 3 parts. Therefore, just like the cartoon about Aladdin ended with this seller, my video will also end on him. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Bye everyone.